let's dive deep into this SWOT analysis thing. We'll be breaking down this SWOT analysis tool.pdf so we can all learn how to make smart decisions in this crazy world. Oh, and fun fact, did you know SWOT has its roots way back in 1960s corporate America?
Yeah, it's true. SWOT may seem simple at first glance, but trust me, it's a powerful tool. When you use it right, that is. It's all about getting a handle on what's going on, both inside your organization and out there in the wild world.
So we're talking about those four key areas, right? Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats.
Exactly. And remember, these four areas, they're all connected. Like what's a strength in one situation could be a weakness in another. Like that company in the case study that relied so heavily on just one distributor.
Oh, yeah. That one stuck with me. How can relying on just one distributor be both good and bad?
Well, it all boils down to your objectives. If you're aiming for rapid expansion, having a strong distributor can be a huge plus.
Yeah.
But what if that distributor suddenly jacks up their prices? Or worse, drops you completely? Suddenly, that reliance becomes a major vulnerability.
Makes you think, there are two sides to every coin. So before we even start figuring out our SWOTs, we got to be crystal clear about what we're actually trying to achieve.
Absolutely. SWOT analysis, it isn't a one-size-fits-all kind of thing. It's most effective when it's tailored to a specific business objective. So whether you're launching a new product, trying to grab more market share, or just looking to boost those profits, your objective, that's what shapes how you interpret everything you find.
And it's amazing how this process can actually help you refine those objectives as you go. You start with one goal, but as you uncover those hidden strengths and weaknesses and all those opportunities and threats out there, well, you might realize you need to switch gears a bit.
Exactly. It's like an ongoing process, a continuous loop of evaluating and adapting. So to really understand SWOT, we need to look at the organization from the inside out.
All right, so we're starting inward. What are the key things we need to think about when we're analyzing that internal environment?
Well, first off, company culture. People often overlook this, but it's important. We're talking about the values, beliefs, public image, and how the whole organization is structured. Is your company known for innovation? Or are they more risk-averse? Do they put the customer first? These qualities, they can be big strengths. Or if they clash with your goals, they can become major weaknesses.
So it's not just about the numbers, it's about that intangible stuff, the company's DNA.
You got it. And beyond culture, there's the organization's expertise. How easy is it to keep that expertise going, or even expand it? Are there people with unique skills that would be hard to replace? And how does your company's expertise compare to the competition?
So if my whole operation hinges on one amazing software developer, that's a red flag.
Well, it's definitely something to look into. Expertise is more than just one brilliant person. It's about the systems and processes you have to grow and nurture talent.
It's about having a deep bench, not just a star player. Now, what about the more concrete things? The resources. Is this where we finally get to talk about the numbers?
Yes, resources are those tangible assets you have. Your finances, infrastructure, equipment, intellectual property, anything that gives you a real material advantage. But even having tons of resources can be a weakness if they're not managed well.
So even a big pile of cash could be a problem if you're not investing in the future or adapting to new technology.
Exactly. And lastly, when we look at the internal environment, we got to consider any unique qualities the organization has. What sets them apart from the competition? Maybe they have exclusive contracts, patents, or a really distinct brand identity.
So it's about finding your secret weapons, those things that give you an edge. Okay, so we've thoroughly explored the inside. Now let's turn our attention outward. What's the first step when it comes to analyzing the external environment?
First, define your market. Who are your ideal customers? What do they need and what do they want? Got to understand your market because it tells you who you're trying to reach and what they're looking for.
So if I'm selling high-end athletic wear, I'm not targeting just anyone who exercises. It's those people who value performance, style, and are willing to pay extra for it.
Exactly. Now, once you've got your market defined, we need to zoom out. Look at the bigger picture, the ecosystem. This is where it gets a bit more complicated.
Okay, I'm listening. What exactly makes up this ecosystem?
Think of it as the whole landscape where your organization exists. It's a technological, social, economic, and political environment. We need to look at the trends, the forces, and the players. All the things that could impact your business, either directly or indirectly.
So it's not just about knowing what my competitors are doing. It's about anticipating things like changes in government regulations or disruptive technologies or even changing consumer values, right?
That's it. A lot of organizations trip up here. They're so focused on what's right in front of them that they miss those subtle shifts happening on the edges.
Like the music industry clinging to CDs when the world was moving to MP3s. Ouch, that was a big miss.
Yeah, that's a perfect example. They didn't analyze the ecosystem and adapt to new technology.
Yeah.
And it cost them big time. But it's not just about technology. The ecosystems also include social and political forces, things that can really shake things up for your business.
Like the growing concern about climate change
Yeah,
and the demand for sustainable products.
exactly. Or shifts in demographics, changes in government regulations. All these things can create new opportunities or throw up new roadblocks. Analyzing the ecosystem means recognizing that your business isn't in a bubble. It's constantly interacting with and being shaped by the world around it.
We can't afford to have tunnel vision. We got to constantly be scanning the horizon for potential disruptions and opportunities.
Exactly. And speaking of potential disruptions, there's one last piece of the external environment puzzle. Third parties.
Okay, who are these third parties and why should we care?
Think of all the entities your organization interacts with. Besides your customers, it's your suppliers, partners, competitors, government agencies, even the media. Understanding what drives them, their strengths and weaknesses, that's essential for creating a winning strategy.
So, like, a car manufacturer needs to consider their rival car companies, but also the companies that supply their parts, the dealerships that sell their cars, and even the government agencies setting those safety and emissions standards.
Exactly. These third parties, they can have a huge impact on your business, both good and bad. A strong partnership with a key supplier could give you a real edge, but bad press coverage could really hurt your reputation.
So we need to map out these relationships, understand how they could influence things. It's a key part of analyzing that external environment.
Absolutely. And this brings us to what makes SWOT analysis so valuable, identifying the opportunities and threats. We'll dive into that in the next part of our deep dive.
I can't wait to unpack all of that. We'll be right back after a quick break. We're back. And we spent some time breaking down both the internal and external environments. Now it's time for the fun part, uncovering those golden opportunities.
You know, opportunities, they're really just external factors, things that can push you towards your goals if you play your cards right.
So it's not just about seeing a promising trend, it's figuring out how to use it to your advantage.
You got it. Opportunities, they can pop up from all sorts of places.
Yeah.
Shifts in market trends, people's lifestyles changing, new technology, even new ways of producing things that make your product or service cheaper or more efficient.
All right, this is where I put on my strategic thinking cap. What are some good examples of businesses seizing those opportunities?
Well, take supermarkets. They used to be all about groceries. But lifestyles changed. More dual-income households, less time for cooking. And they saw an opportunity. They expanded what they offered. Now you can get clothes, electronics, pharmacy stuff, even banking, all in one place.
Smart move, right. They created a one-stop shop for busy people.
Yeah, it shows how important it is to pay attention to those little shifts in how people live and what they want. Another example is how companies capitalized on changes in government policies. Remember that EU legislation we talked about, where electronics manufacturers had to follow new rules for waste disposal?
Oh, yeah, the one that suddenly made those specialized consulting firms super popular.
Exactly. Those firms, they saw an opportunity, something that seems like a burden for other businesses. They used their expertise to help companies navigate the new rules, and they boosted their own profits in the process.
They turned a potential problem into a moneymaker. Sounds like opportunities are everywhere if you know where to look.
They are, but they can be fleeting. That EU legislation, it created a window for those firms, but it eventually closed. Speed and agility are crucial.
Time is money, right? Especially in the fast-paced world of business. Okay, before we get too caught up in chasing opportunities, I think it's time to talk about threats.
Right, threats. They're like the other side of the coin. External factors that can hurt your business if you're not ready for them. And the tricky part is, they're often out of your control.
Lay it on me. What kind of threats should we be watching out for?
Well, one of the most common is competition. It could be a rival company cutting prices.
Yeah.
Or a new player shaking things up with a totally new product. Even existing competitors teaming up to gain market share.
Like when Apple launched iTunes and then Spotify came along and changed everything.
Exactly. Those were big disruptions. A lot of established players got caught flat-footed. Remember how we talked about analyzing the ecosystem? Not seeing a new technology or a shift in consumer behavior coming, that can be a major threat.
Being able to anticipate things is crucial.
Absolutely. And it's not just new technology. Sometimes it's changes in how consumers behave that are hard to predict. Like the whole illegal downloading thing. It wasn't just the technology, it was a change in what people thought was okay. People were willing to get content without paying for it. That really shook things up.
I bet that was hard for companies to see coming, let alone control. Things can change quickly.
You said it. And threats, they can come out of nowhere. A natural disaster messing up your supply chain, a sudden change in government regulations, even a bad news story that hurts your reputation. Being ready for anything is key.
Sounds like you got to be on your toes all the time. What's the best approach? Do we try to predict every single scenario?
Well, you can't plan for everything, but the key is to be proactive. Regularly check where you're vulnerable. Stay up to date on industry trends and external factors. And have backup plans for those potential disruptions.
So it's about being flexible and adaptable, being ready to pivot when you need to.
That's the idea. Remember, threats, they're usually external. You can't control them. But that doesn't mean you're helpless. Planning for them can help you minimize the damage, reduce the element of surprise. You can even turn a threat into an opportunity.
Well, that's interesting, turning a threat into an opportunity. I'm all ears. But before we get into that, how does all this connect back to our internal analysis? What about our strengths and weaknesses?
That's where the real strategy comes in. The goal isn't just to make separate lists of strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. It's about understanding how they all relate to each other and using that knowledge to make smart decisions.
So we're looking for connections, patterns, anything that helps us make better choices.
You got it. And there are two key strategies that come out of this: matching and converting.
Matching and converting sounds powerful. Tell me more.
Matching is about aligning your strengths with opportunities to get ahead. It's about finding those sweet spots where what you're good at internally lines up perfectly with external trends or events.
Okay, I think I'm following. Got a real-world example to make that clear.
Sure, think about Marks & Spencer, the British retailer. Back in the 80s, they were known for their clothes, but they also had a strong reputation for quality and loyal customers. They saw an opportunity in the growing market for prepared meals, but instead of just offering basic sandwiches and salads like everyone else, they used their strength, that reputation for quality. They created a line of fancy gourmet-style food.
And they were a hit, right? Their food is still super popular.
Exactly. They tapped into a market that no one else was really serving well. And they do it by leveraging one of their existing strengths. That's matching.
So they took something they were already good at, providing quality products, and they applied it to a new opportunity.
That's right. It let them stand out in a crowded market and gain a real advantage over the competition. Now let's talk about converting. This is where it gets really interesting.
I'm hooked. Tell me more about this converting magic.
Converting is all about turning a potential weakness or threat into a strength or opportunity. It's about finding creative ways to flip the script and use what could be seen as a disadvantage to your advantage.
Okay, now you've got my attention. Give me an example of this converting strategy in action.
Let's take those small independent whiskey distilleries in Scotland. A lot of them are on remote islands, which limits how much they can produce and makes distribution harder. In a world of mass production, that sounds like a big problem. But instead of trying to compete on volume, they turn their limited production into a strength.
How'd they do that?
They embrace the small batch, artisanal aspect. They focused on making high-quality, limited edition whiskeys, emphasizing their unique origins and traditional methods. Their whiskey became a rare, exclusive thing, something to be savored and collected, and they could charge a premium for it.
So their limited production, which could have been a weakness, became a sign of exclusivity, a strength. That's clever.
It is. They took what could have been a negative and turned it into a positive. And now they have a loyal following of whiskey enthusiasts, people who value the craft and rarity of their product.
It's amazing how creative thinking and smart positioning can turn a disadvantage into a winning formula.
Absolutely. Both matching and converting require careful thought and a strategic mind. You have to be honest about your strengths and weaknesses, and you got to be able to see how external forces could impact your business.
So we've talked about how to find opportunities and threats, and we've looked at those matching and converting strategies, but how do we actually put all this into action?
That's where we go from analysis to implementation. And that's exactly what we'll be covering in the final part of our deep dive.
I'm ready to put this knowledge to work. We'll be right back after a quick break.
All right, we're back. We've been through the ins and outs of SWOT analysis. We've looked at strengths and weaknesses, those opportunities and threats out there. But now, how do we actually use all of this?
Yeah, SWOT, it's not just about having those insights. It's about turning those insights into decisions that get real results.
So it's not enough to just map out our SWOTs. We need to actually do something with them.
Right. The real work begins after the SWOT analysis. You got to take those findings and turn them into a plan, a real action plan.
All right, let's break it down. What are the first steps once we've got a good handle on our SWOTs?
Well, first you got to prioritize. You've probably found a bunch of strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, but they're not all equally important.
So we need to figure out which ones are most critical, the ones we need to focus on right away. Exactly. Which strengths are absolutely essential for your success? Which weaknesses could really hold you back? Which opportunities have the biggest potential for growth? And which threats? Well, which ones keep you up at night?
This is where it gets tricky, right? What's most important to one person might not be to another.
That's why it's so important to get different people involved, people from different departments, different levels in the organization, maybe even get some outside perspectives.
So we're casting a wide net, making sure we're not missing anything crucial.
That's the idea. Once you've got your priorities straight, it's time to brainstorm.
Ah, brainstorming. Time to get creative.
This is where you come up with ideas for leveraging your strengths, tackling those weaknesses, taking advantage of opportunities, and figuring out how to deal with those threats.
Can you give me an example? Let's say we know one of our weaknesses is low brand awareness. What kind of actions could we brainstorm to address that?
Well, you could take a multi-pronged approach. Maybe launch a targeted marketing campaign. Partner with some influencers to boost your visibility. Get more active on social media. Sponsor some events, or even revamp your website. Give your logo a refresh. The point is to explore different options and find what fits your goals.
So we're taking those SWOT insights and turning them into concrete steps, things we can actually do.
Exactly. And don't forget, your actions, they got to line up with your overall business objectives.
Right. If the goal is to grow market share and we're spending all our time on employee morale, well, something's not right.
You got it. Every action you take, it should be moving you towards those big picture goals.
All right, so we've prioritized our SWOTs, brainstormed some actions. What's next? Do we just jump in and start doing everything?
Hold on, not so fast. You got to evaluate those options before you commit.
So we need to be strategic, weigh the pros and cons.
Exactly. Think about the costs and benefits of each action. How much will it take? What are the risks? What are the chances of success?
It's like doing mini SWOT analyses for each potential action.
You can think of it that way. The goal is to make sure the actions you choose are doable, that they make sense for your objectives, and that they'll probably get you good results.
Makes sense. And once we've evaluated everything and chosen what to do, then we just execute.
Well, yeah, but you need a clear plan and a way to measure whether it's working.
So set specific goals, track our progress, and be ready to change course if we need to.
Exactly. Things change fast in the business world. Flexibility is key. Be adaptable and learn from your mistakes and your successes too.
So it's this constant cycle. Analyze, strategize, act, adapt.
That's it. SWOT, it's not a one-and-done thing. It's an ongoing framework to help you make better decisions and navigate all the ups and downs of business.
It's not about finding the perfect answer. It's about constantly improving.
Well said. SWOT analysis gives you the power to make better, more informed decisions. But you're the one who has to take action and make things happen.
So there you have it. We've covered a lot about SWOT analysis, from the basics to putting it all into practice.
And remember, SWOT analysis isn't just for businesses. You can use it for all sorts of things, from your own career goals to everyday problems.
That's a great point. SWOT can help us make better choices in all areas of life.
So think about how you can use SWOT analysis to reach your goals. Whether you're running a company, starting a new project, or just trying to make smarter decisions day to day.
That's empowering, isn't it? We all have the tools to figure out our strengths and weaknesses, find opportunities, and handle threats.
Absolutely. The key is to keep learning and adapting. Use what you learn to make positive changes.
Thanks for taking us on this deep dive into SWOT analysis. It's been really insightful.
It was my pleasure. Remember, the power of SWOT is that it helps us make smarter decisions. So go out there and SWOT away.
And to our listeners, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and make the most of every opportunity.
Until next time, may your SWOT analyses be insightful and your actions impactful.